Hi guys, it's Mike. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about some things that you can do to prep your house to keep the heat going and to keep it as warm as possible when you know that you've got a winter storm coming. As we just found out, it's currently February 11th. I don't know. It's sometime in February. Super cold still in Texas. Unprecedented. Decades have gone by and we haven't seen a storm this bad. Power outages everywhere. We've had people unfortunately lost their lives because of this storm, and exposure to the cold. So it's a big deal, and as we see more extreme weather patterns coming, all over the world, we have to start being ready for things a little bit more. So hopefully this will help you get ready for winter storms a little bit more, especially if you live down here in Texas or down in the South where we don't get super cold like this. It'll share some info with you so we can all weather the storm, pun intended, a little bit better together. Okay, so what can you do? Well, first of all, when you know that cold weather's coming, I've had several videos where we've talked about water system, how to prepare your water system. So go ahead and watch those. They're pretty short, hopefully informative. Just keep that water dripping, keep it running. That'll protect your water system. Let's talk about our heating system and the electrical components. Well, first of all, what's going to happen, either if you're on electric heat or gas heat, one way or another, everybody's going to start needing to use more and more heat because our houses are really inefficient. They're not really made for this. Super cold weather comes, and so the power demand on the grid is going to go through the roof instantly. That is what has caused a lot of these rolling blackouts and power outages. Demand is just so much greater than supply. Essentially, here's what I think this has shown us is we can't count on ERCOT and we can't count on the power grid to be a reliable source of power. We have to be ready to provide our own power and make sure that we have some way to heat our homes in the future. So if you have a generator, that's probably the first place to start, right? Make sure you have access to your generator. It runs, you have fuel, you have, it has the fresh oil or the oil's fine in it, and go ahead and start it up. Make sure that, before that storm hits, you don't want to be out there when it's 10 degrees trying to get that thing to start. Fire it up before, make sure you have a plan on how you're going to use it and have something to plug into it, right? Most homes aren't wired to run the whole home off a generator. Some high-end homes or that sort of thing may have a system and may have a stationary generator where power goes out, you can fire that thing up and it's like nothing ever happened. But most generators are going to be your 2,000 watt camp type generators, that sort of thing. They can still be a really useful tool in a situation like this, just to run a unit heater off of. You can run an extension cord out a door or out a window and get that cord going inside. Big safety thing with generators, you can't run them inside. People who've been around generators a lot, you guys know that, but anybody who's new to generators, that is an internal combustion engine. It will kill you dead if you try to run that thing indoors, okay? So leave it outside in a well-ventilated area, run an extension cord in, and run your electrical appliances off of that. So a little forethought, got to be planning there, but if you have a generator, have it, ready to go. Another thing that we can do to try to prevent the blackouts and prevent the power usage that ERCOT and those folks should have been telling us before this was unplug. Don't use any non-essential appliances because, your appliances just being plugged in. Now, don't unplug your refrigerator. That's a bad deal. But things like TVs, if you don't need them, washer and dryer, you don't need them. Anything that's plugged in that you don't absolutely need to stay warm and stay alive, unplug it, because we don't need to be running a bunch of washing and drying, especially dryers, man. You talk about the biggest electrical load in the house. When a storm comes in, that is not the time to start doing your laundry. You need to be doing it before, be ready, because, man, it's a huge electrical load on a system that's already going to be stressed, and that's what's going to push it to the limits and, put these power grids out of business or out of operation. So anything that's not absolutely necessary, unplug it, don't use it. Big juice users, electric dryers specifically, and microwaves. Try to limit the use of those. So, do what you can to try to conserve energy, even to the point of, not running too many lights in the house, and I mean, that's just good practice anyway, to keep your electric bill down. But, don't have all your lights on in the house. That's pulling a lot of juice from a system, and that juice could go to somebody to keep their house warm. So there's things that we can do kind of as a community to try to keep the grid from crashing that you need to be prepared to do before. Other things before the weather comes, because this is really about, what to do to make sure you're ready. Know where your furnaces are and where the on-off switches are, and if there's any breakers on the furnaces. Because if you do, and know where those breakers are and, how to flip them. If the power goes out, sometimes that can throw breakers. Sometimes they might have GFCI or ground fault current interrupter circuits on them. They may trip if the power goes out. Power comes back on, and man, my furnace won't come on. That just happened to us in this, and I had to get up in the attic when it was way too cold because I'd never done this before, and had to find, where those breakers were for the furnaces to get them going again. So make sure that you know where those are. Make sure that you know what to do in the event that when the power comes back on, your furnace won't work. Other thing is just, preventive maintenance on your furnaces. It's a good idea to have an HVAC company come in and service them every probably 1 to 2 years. So that's just, good practice, but that makes sure, because, they're stressed, just like on the hottest day, that's when your air conditioning system is stressed. On the coldest day, that's when your furnace is going to be stressed. And you don't want a system that hasn't been maintained to be stressed to the max, because that's when it's going to fail on you. Other things to do before the weather comes: candles, blankets, whatever space heaters you have, find them. Know where your flashlights are. Again, we've seen that we can't trust the power grid, so be ready to be without power for a long period of time. Stockpile water in case the water system freezes. Your house may not freeze, but the water main in the street could freeze, and then you're just as bad off, right? So make sure you've got some water, and you know where to get water, or you have some bottled water that's ready to go in case you're out of water. Also highly recommend, get contact info for your neighbors, guys. I think our society, especially with COVID, we've lost touch with our neighbors in a lot of ways. It's a good idea. And if this taught us anything, I hope that it taught us to reach out, get contacts before, and check on people. Just check on people before, during, and after the storm, just to make sure they're okay. They may kind of look at you funny at first when you come over and introduce yourself and want to share contact info, but what I've found is most people are extremely grateful that you've come over and want to reach out and establish contact, because it does kind of take a village when these storms come through, especially when the utilities go down. So those things, make sure you got food, water, you got blankets, you're ready for being out of power. If you do all those things, you're going to be ready to go when the storm comes. Next, we'll talk about what to do if the power does go out. I'd also recommend you look at another video that we posted on how to keep your house warm if the power goes out. My wife will show you some stuff that she learned from her childhood growing up in Alaska. So some pretty good content there. So check those out and leave comments below. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.